The next session is going to deliberate upon the role of CSR initiatives in promotion of MHM. So, I would now invite on stage the panel head for this session, Ms. Pooja Murada. She's the Principal Lead Outreach for Development, Seghal Foundation. She brings with her 25 plus years of experience in communications. She has worked for corporate brands, government and academic institutions, as well as for the NGO sector. Ladies and gentlemen, we're so fortunate and blessed to have such a wonderful personality here with us. To join her on the panel, I would invite one name that needs no introduction at all. And when I say it, I really mean it, ladies and gentlemen. Please put your hands together for Mr. S. Damodaran, Padma Shri Awardee 2022, founder and CEO, Gramalaya. Let's also welcome Mr. Himadrish Suvan, Chairperson, CYL, Director General, IIGL. Okay, so he'll join us very shortly. Let's also welcome Mr. Maninder Singh, founder and CEO, CEF Group. And last but not the least, to join us on the panel, Ms. Suhana Parveen. She is a CSR professional at Bharat Aluminium Limited Company, Vedanta. Let's welcome her. So ladies and gentlemen, this completes our prolific panel for this panel discussion. And let's begin this panel discussion with a huge round of applause for all of them sitting here on the stage. And come on, let's hear it for them. And it is now over to the panel head for the role of CSR initiatives in promotion of MHM.
Thank you. Thank you, Gramalaya, for this very good event, very meaningful in the beginning of the year. And wishing you all a very happy, healthy, and inclusive 2023. I know it's called the graveyard panel, as she mentioned, but it is important. You know what wakes us up throughout this panel? One of the biggest pillars that drives all our efforts towards the meaningful cause of MHM. There is inclusivity. Throughout these 2 days, we heard a lot about the importance of menstrual hygiene. We understood about the privacy, the inclusion, the accessibility of the resources, and the knowledge, the education that is required to bring that behavior change in different cultures, in different communities, in urban as well as in rural areas. But to scale this up, to sustain these efforts that we all are doing at the NGO levels, at individual levels, it is funding. It is the technical support, the financial support of organizations to drive this change. And I'm happy. I know we are running almost 2 hours late in the whole event. So to bring it straight onto the point, I am very happy that in this panel we have a person who does not need much of the introduction, but to fulfill my role, Padma Shri Awardee, the change maker, who is known as the toilet man. Mr. S. Damodaran, who founded Gramalaya in 1987 and works towards a larger goal, integrated development of women and children in rural areas through economic and health empowerment. We have him with us in this panel, and he's the one who actually made this a national agenda. He has a big role in it. And to scale this, as I said, it is important to sustain these efforts and scale it up. We need support of like-minded organization and of donor partners. So can I pose few questions? Yeah, please. Yeah? So I would like you to share with all of us the role of CSR in Gramalaya. So you have been able to make it a national agenda. How you started in the beginning and how you've taken it so far.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful session being organized here post-lunch and before our validity function. I start, we are having with our audiences here, delegates, our friend, the High Commissioner of Malta, Mr. Ruben Gausi, and his spouse, Madam, His Excellency, Her Excellency. Thank you so much for your coming here. We are really honored. Wonderful. Okay. We should talk about the role of CSR in promoting MHM. This program itself is being funded by corporates. The first two summit was funded by Bank of America under CSR fund. That's why we could be able to organize such a conference like this. But later on, we found that though we are getting funds from corporates like Bank of America, we are unable to conduct such a huge gathering of like-minded people working in the MHM sector. Then we found that we have our own resources to conduct from our own for-profit entity, where we are used to sell cloth pads, reusable cloth pads, produced by the women self-help groups. From that, we could able to get some margin because of marketing. That money was also used in that for conducting this summit. But recently, we are getting very good response from the corporates under CSR funding because they like this kind of summit, and the people you are all working very dedicatedly with a lot of hard work. That's why we could able to elicit more response from the corporate groups. As an NGO, I would like to tell you about 10 years ago itself, I visualized and conducted the role of corporate social responsibility funds in the NGO sector. But many of the NGOs couldn't able to harvest that facilities because when a corporate, madam knows that, Pooja madam, when a corporate wanted to fund a NGO under CSR activities, they need all kind of due diligences. The NGO should have proper good track record, and they should have a very good documentation system. They should have a very good accounting policies, HR policies in line. Also complying with the local legal aspects. All these aspects are very, very important if you would like to get corporate funds. But without that, without proper documentation system, without good track record, without having a very good vision, your vision should itself attract the funders. If you say, if you are working for your water and sanitation, providing safe drinking water supply to the communities, or providing a toilet facility for a rural family, then that will be a very attractive, because children are going to use that, women are going to use that, adolescent girls are going to use that, such a facility. And also the environment of the particular village is being preserved because of the open defecation stopped in the village. So that kind of, your vision should itself attract the funders. It may be a donor, it may be an international donor, it may be an individual donor or a corporate. There are some criteria, also 6 kind of activities mentioned in the CSR funds, right from education, skills training, health, and water and sanitation. All this comes under CSR funding. But I have come across more than 100 NGOs who have unable to tap funds under CSR funds, though they have been approached by the corporates. Because of lack of proper documentation system, they couldn't able to attract funds. That is a major problem. But nowadays, you can tap more than 30,000 crores of corporate funds in a year. These are the funds available for the NGOs throughout the country. It is only India has made it a mandatory one. 2% of the net profits should be allocated for CSR funding activities. So that kind of facilities are available. NGOs should make it, use that facilities. Also, so many people who are all being a part of our summit, they are all, most of them are individual initiatives. But if you could come across, if you come together as a non-profit entity in their own region, on your own effort, then definitely you could mobilize funds under CSR fund. These are also nowadays it is become a mandatory one. If you are funded 3 to 5 years, there is an impact study done by the corporates. There are some kind of committees led by under the HR person in a particular corporate. They will go through all kinds of due diligence process. Then only you could be able to tap funds. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, very valid points for all of us to take home. Transparency, credibility. This is what we've understood. It's important that all the NGOs, all the organizations who are taking money, it's a big responsibility, and the due diligence needs to be done properly. And this topic, MHM, it is, when it comes to women, I think whatever mandate of the corporate company is, women can be a cross-cutting theme. And this theme actually cuts across the work, most of the work that happens in the development sector today. And, if I add to what Damodaran sir said, in Seghal Foundation, we started with one district in Mewat, which is at the borders of Haryana and Rajasthan. We are right now working in 12 states. The issue is agriculture, water, and school. But women empowerment, inclusion is the cross-cutting theme that cuts across all the work that we are doing. So with that, we have the person who actually is on the other side of the table, Suhana. Yeah, Suhana Parveen, you are heading the CSR. You're in the CSR department at Bharat Aluminium Limited, BALCO. And your lead menstrual health project. Yeah? Okay. So, tell us, adding to what Mr. Damodaran has said, when you are looking at or doing the due diligence at your end, what do you look at NGOs? Who fits into your criteria? It'll be good for all of us to know.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a wonderful question. And adding to what Damodaran sir said, definitely due diligence. Being a part of BALCO Vedanta, I would let you know that we have 3 internal audits when we are running a project, and quarterly audits, annual audits. So we have all these audits to see if our programs are in place, and it gets very important for corporates when they are running their projects through corporates under corporate social responsibility to track their projects. So when we are choosing a implementing partner, first of all, their track record is very important for us. Secondly, our preference, as a preference, I would say we generally look for regional partners. Since we are a mining company, we work in a mining area. And for sensitive topics like menstrual health management, we would want our implementing partners to be someone from the regional areas so that we can maximize our outreach. We can connect locally to the people. Nevertheless, we are very open towards ideas, towards groundbreaking work with what other NGOs have done, and if they can bring ahead to our fields, to our grounds, and if that can be reciprocated in a much better way. And apart from that, due diligence holds a lot of other technical aspects that is a mandatory for all NGOs, I would say.
Great. I was told that you also wanted to show something. Would you?
Since we are talking a lot about breaking the silence, so before I speak about BALCO's initiatives on menstrual health management, we have a small short film, Sarika, Dondro ki Nai Kiran, that I would like to show to you.
पर नामुमकिन नहीं होती, अगर लगन हो तो सब मुमकिन है. एक नई
Can we have the sound?
इस दीवार पर कुछ लिखा जाना था, जिसे इंतजार था कि कोई तो पहल करे. ये है दोंद्रो. और ये यहाँ की सारिका. वैसे तो ये गांव वैसा का वैसा है, जैसे सदियों से था. वैसे ही लोग, वैसी ही जीवनचर्या, वैसा ही सब कुछ. जो एक गांव को गांव बनाता है। पर चुपके से कुछ बदल रहा है। सारिका उन्हें बदल रही है। जो बातें कभी होती ही नहीं थी इस गांव में, उन पे बात हो रही है। आखिर सारिका ने पहल जो की है।
मुझे कुछ बदलना था, मैंने बदला। मैंने दोनों में उस विषय पे बात किया जो कोई नहीं करता था।
वो कहती तो नहीं है बहुत कुछ, पर अब करती बहुत कुछ है। पर उसने ऐसा क्या बदला है?
बहुत कुछ बदला है। महावारी पर लोगों की सोच बदली है। लोगों का था कि आप ये कैसे विषय पर काम कर रहे हैं, इस विषय पर तो बात ना की जाए उतना अच्छा है। बट धीरे धीरे जब लोगों को समझ आया तो लोगों ने फिर अपना एक्सेप्टेंस दिखाया। आज ना केवल किशोरी बालिका बट उनके घर की महिलाएं और पुरुष वर्ग भी अपना सहयोग बता रहा है। गांव के गांव हमारी नई किरण परियोजना में अपना समर्थन दे रहे हैं।
जी हाँ, ये आसान नहीं था। और तो और सरोज दीदी जैसी कई महिलाएं भी खासा नाराज थे इस बात पे।
पहले इसमें बात करना हम लोगों को अच्छा नहीं लगता था। पीरियड के समय में मतलब जो भी कुछ बात करे तो उसको किसी को मत बताना, छुपा के रखना, ऐसे चलते थे पहले जमाने में। बड़े बुजुर्ग कहते थे कि ये सब के बारे में बात करना अच्छा नहीं था। और जब नई किरण आई, नई किरण की दीदी लोग घर घर में आकर के ये सब के बारे में चर्चा किए, हम लोगों को बहुत अच्छा लगा। मेरी 4 बेटियां हैं, उन लोग भी नई किरण को लेके बहुत उत्साहित हैं।
एक आदिवासी बहुल गांव में माहवारी और उससे जुड़ी स्वास्थ्य समस्याओं पर सामाजिक तौर पर बात करना लगभग नामुमकिन था। पर किसी को तो भीतर से पहल करनी थी। सारिका और कई लड़कियां आगे बढ़ी और बाल्को ने हाथ थामा। सारिका की अपनी लड़ाई थी। पिता कम उम्र में गुजर गए। 10वीं पास का सपना रह गया। पर वो हारी नहीं। उसने बीड़ा उठाया अपने से कई बड़ी लड़ाई का। फिर क्या था? शुरुआत हुई एक नई किरण की दोंदरों में। पहल सारिका और उसकी सहेलियों ने की और बीड़ा उठाया बाल्को ने।
ये मुद्दा जो कि माहवारी स्वास्थ्य प्रबंधन है, ये हमारे एक सामाजिक आंकलन में निकल के बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण मुद्दा आया था जो कि हमारे समुदाय में व्याप्त है। तो बाल्को ने मेंस्ट्रुअल हेल्थ मैनेजमेंट नई किरण परियोजना उस समय चालू करी जब ये कम्युनिटी की नीड थी। इससे जुड़ी जो रोक टोक है, इससे जुड़ी वर्जनाएं, इससे जुड़ी भ्रांतियाँ जो कि समुदाय को बहुत ही पीछे खींचती हैं, अगर इसको हम सरल और सहज बनाएंगे तो ये बहुत बदलाव की दिशा में आगे बढ़ेगा।
फिर शक्ति सहेली मंडल बना और चर्चा शुरू हुई माहवारी और उससे जुड़ी तमाम समस्याओं पर और स्वस्थ परंपराओं पर जोर देने पर। मुश्किलें आईं, पर ये मुहिम आगे बढ़ने के लिए शुरू हुई। फिर क्या था? वो भी जुड़े जिनके बारे में ये लड़कियों ने सोचा भी नहीं था। और दोंदरों में नई किरण की धूप दोपहर की परवान चढ़ी।
नई किरण परियोजना का मैं समर्थन करती हूँ। मैडम लोग आते हैं, बच्चियों का, महिलाओं का बैठक कराते हैं और मैं खुल के मैं समर्थन करती हूँ।
पहले इस संबंध में चर्चा ही नहीं होती थी। इस परियोजना के चलने से महिलाएं जागरूक हुई है और उनकी स्वास्थ्य में सुधार हुई है। इसलिए हम पुरुष इस परियोजना को पसंद करते हैं।
हमें तो पता नहीं था कि ये पीरियड्स होता क्या है और मम्मी लोगों के साथ क्या क्या प्रॉब्लम होती थी, उनके मानसिक शारीरिक तनाव क्या क्या होते थे। फिर हम लोगों ने ट्रेनिंग ज्वाइन किया, ट्रेनिंग किए तो हमें पता चला कि होता क्या है। फिर हम मम्मी जब होती थी तो पूजा कर देते थे। उन लोग जब वीकनेस हो जाता था उनके घर के कामों में सहयोग करते थे, यहाँ तक उनके लिए सैनिटरी पैड ला के भी देते थे। इसीलिए मैं इस नई किरण परियोजना से जुड़ा हूँ।
अब ये एक मुहिम है, ऐसी मुहिम जिसमें सब जुड़े हैं ताकि सब इसको समझें और इसके प्रति जागरूक रहें। ये लड़कियों की वो लड़ाई है जो भविष्य की माँओं के लिए है, स्वस्थ और सुखी परिवारों के लिए है। ये लड़ाई उस जागरूकता के लिए है जिस पे बात करने के लिए समाज आज भी तैयार नहीं है।
ये लड़ाई हम लड़कियों की है, जिसे हम लड़कियां ही लड़ रही हैं। अच्छा लगता है कि माहवारी के ऊपर अब खुलकर बात होती है। ये जानकारी अब पूरे देश में फैलनी चाहिए, यही हम आशा करते हैं।
वेदांता अध्यक्ष श्री अनिल अग्रवाल जी से प्रेरित छत्तीसगढ़ के किसी कोने में ये लड़ाई आज भी लड़ी जा रही है, जिसे देश के हर कोने में पहुंचने की आस है। हाँ, सारिका भी अब 10वीं पास होने की पहल कर चुकी है और गांव की किसी कोने की उस दीवार पर कुछ लिख दिया गया है जो पहले कभी खुलेआम लिखा ही नहीं गया। वेदांता और बाल्को इन्हीं सामाजिक पहलों के साथ खड़े होने का दूसरा नाम है।
Thank you so much. So, as I would like to start about our initiative that BALCO has taken, Project Nai Kiran. When we started this initiative, actually, when we did our baseline study, it was reflected in that study that Korba, the population in Korba has it reflected a very grim picture about the practices, about the menstrual health practices that the women have been practicing at Korba. So based on that need, since we all are aware that CSR projects are driven on need, so we felt the need that we should come up with something that would actually impact the communities, our neighboring communities, to switch to healthy menstrual practices. So with that aim, we started Project Nai Kiran in 2019, and from my experience, I would say that when we started this project, nobody was ready to talk about menstruation. We all are aware, we all are social work professionals, medical practitioners here on this platform, and we all know that when we start making the base on the ground and when we approach the population, how much difficult it is. When my team used to go to tribal primitive areas, they used to tell me, "Ma'am, darwaza muh pe maar dete hain." They used to close the doors on our face. So we started from that level. 1 year, as you are aware, is an implementing year for the CSR projects. It took us a complete 1 year to build that base. This film is a short reflection wherein our community is saying that we were not ready to talk about that. So we started with door-to-door awareness in our first year. Then we moved ahead. Then what next? We understand about menstrual health management. We did capacity building. But do you think capacity building is solely enough? Because one of the challenges as a corporate, after giving capacity building training to our adolescent leaders and adolescent girls and boys, we understood that yes, we have very well given the capacity building training, but is it going the way we imagined into the field? No, it was not. So we came up with leadership training. So as a best practice, what I would suggest here is that capacity building training should be clubbed in with a separate kind of training, because the kind of confidence that we require to hail that kind of capacity building training at the field, at the village level, our adolescent girls leader, our adolescent boys leader should also be capacitated with those leadership trainings. Another part that we felt that we do not have dedicated spaces wherein we can openly talk about menstrual health management. So we created Sakhi Suvidha Kendra, wherein these adolescent girl leaders, adolescent boy leaders can have their meetings freely. They are knowledge centers wherein they can have wherein they can have an exchange of knowledge. So this is a comprehensive program that we have designed, and thank you so much, Team Gramalaya, for organizing this MHM Summit, wherein I believe we have learned a lot, and we are going to reciprocate it in our own dignified fields.
Thank you very much, Suhana. It's, a couple of thoughts that were actually going in my mind, looking at the, outreach programs that the NGOs are doing, listening to Suhana. The approaches that we, engage or we use in our outreach, there is ladai lad rahe hain, as they, each one of us in our communities are fighting battles is one approach. The other approach, community mobilization, is another approach. There is another very important approach which I usually use in my groundwork. It's called the positive deviant approach. And I have seen some wonderful results. A positive deviant approach is wherein we are not fighting, we are we are just bringing out role models from the neighborhood, and you are telling the other people that she has no problem, that her daughter is, whether, with the menstrual inclusivity or privacy, she's open about it. So once my neighborer is fine and practicing certain things, slowly the other people will also get free from that foundation. It's a slow process, but it does reap results. Another thought that I was actually thinking is a decade back, NGOs, non-for-profits were actually looked into the light of being an unorganized sector. The very important role that CSR has done over a period of time is we have learned a lot from the corporates, from the bilateral, multilateral organizations, from embassies and high commissions, that how things can actually get documented, how we need to do qualitative and quantitative impact assessment. Because end of the day, like any other business, here also impact counts. So these were a couple of thoughts that I thought is important to share. And then very interesting bio that I was reading of our next panelist is Maninder, who's the CEO and Director of Business Development. He's an enthusiastic scholar, visionary leader, dynamic entrepreneur, and social reformist with desire to develop the nation through various initiatives and endeavors in renewable energy, power, Ayurveda, technology, education, skill development, and social work. So it is so diverse. Maninder, welcome to the panel. And I have two questions for you. While I'm not going to read, he's available on internet. I think we all can read more about him. But while I was reading about you, I thought you've worked with adolescents a lot, and you're also into waste management. So my first question is engagement with adolescents, and if there is any experience or any example that you can quote about that. And second question would be, we all are talking about menstrual hygiene and use of products, but waste generation that is happening in the process, how do you think can be managed? We can manage that.
Yeah, very good afternoon all. I would take the liberty of standing and talking. Since it's a session, as she said, it's a graveyard session, I don't really want it to look like one. Right, first of all, I would like to welcome His Excellency and Ma'am Excellency in between us, and also thank Mr. Damodaran and Gramalaya for organizing this very, very important and very vital issue to be discussed in this panel in the last 2 days, today and yesterday. So, my relationship with this topic goes back when I was 13, 14 years of age. And a small incident happened. I'm the youngest in my family. I have 3 sisters. And one is my twin sister, 2 elder sisters. And जैसे होता ना घर में, my mother gave me a list of things कि बेटा जा बाजार से ये सामान ले. And I said, okay. And then she gave a small paper to my sister, ये तू ले आ. I was like intrigued that सारा सामान मैं लेके आ रहा हूँ. So what is it that she has given to my sister that she has to get? And then, it is not a tradition in our families for girls to go out in the market and bring the materials. Generally, boys doing that bit. So I got really curious to know that what did she give to my sister? And I asked my sister, what are you going to get from the market, which I don't know? And she did not share it with me. And I could not sleep that night. My family is hiding something from me. Right, but next day morning, what I did, I went to my dad. Dad, this happened yesterday. These ladies are hiding something from us. And then in a very subtle manner, he said, okay, I'll explain you what it is. He inquired from my mom, and then he asked my mother to explain it to me. That, okay, girls have this thing, and this is how it has to be managed. So there are these pads that needs to be bought from the market, which is not a very comfortable thing to do in India. You go to a chemist, you ask separately, they give it to you in a brown cover so that nobody else is watching it. And I was wondering to myself, that is generally something that happens with condoms. I had that knowledge about condoms that time, and I was wondering if condoms can be is one thing which is like something hidden, very, very personal, but not a taboo. But over here what I discovered, that this is also something hidden, very, very personal, but a taboo. Right, so that was the first time I got introduced to this topic, and I became very, very open about discussing on it. Later on, as professionally I grew, I was the chairman of SOCHAM, National Council on Education, HRD, some 8-9 years back. And I got this opportunity to work on this particular model. Because CSR was not very prevalent at that time, but yes, there were things around it. People were funding some kind of progress and some kind of social initiatives like this. So like we say, CSR, corporate social responsibility, the first thing that comes is the C has just come in 6 years back. It was always SR, the social responsibility. And that social responsibility starts from our house, from our school, from our mates, our friends, our circle, our teachers, our gurus, right? But each and every place, the sole responsibility part is missing, social part is there. So what is social without responsibility? It means nothing. So we organized a program that we will go into a particular village and see what is going on. And that was the time when my eyes were open wide that, oh my God. Now I'm talking about 2012-13, and in India, there are hardly 8% women who actually are able to use proper ways of managing their menstrual cycles. And rest, 92% are far, far away. So that data was so disturbing that we wanted to do something in it. So we went to the village and we organized teams. We got some women together, some men together, and we started going to houses. So जैसे मैम ने बोला, ठक दरवाजा मुंह पे, go. All right, so we went to various communities. Some villages are Muslim villages, mostly dominated by Muslims. Some villages are, different. In India how it goes. हम यहाँ दिल्ली में बैठते हैं, in Connaught Place, and we try and see and think that, oh, this is India. My India is not this India, my dear. Right? You move any direction from here, 60 kilometers flat, where you land is real India. All right, and when you go there, just 60 kilometers, 2 hours, maybe 1.5 hours, there these things happen. What she is addressing, what these people are addressing, what we all are here to address as a whole. Right? Now, when we went there, we saw कि वो इस टॉपिक के बारे में बात करने के लिए तैयार ही नहीं है. वो कह रहा कुछ और कर लो, इसके बारे में बात मत करो. And who are stopping? It's not the women that are stopping. The men behind them who are stopping them. Somewhere. That's lack of education, lack of trust, lack of vision. Now, as a chamber, and while we were doing this, we devised a technique. I would like to share that. कि हमने क्या किया, हमने इसको एक 3 दिन का ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम बनाया. That okay, let's make it into a 3-day training program. Day 1, we start teaching women on health and nutrition, government initiatives, opening bank accounts, and all the things to which so-called men of the society or the runners or leaders of the society, right, have no problem to. And then second day, we went on some other topics, like topics for pregnant women, topics for related to employment, this, that. And on the third day, we would immediately switch to MHM, menstrual hygiene management, menstrual hygiene health management. And that is how we were able to get inside the problem areas and get to the women where it was required to be trained, taught, and made them to understand. And we were able to derive some kind of impact. So that is how we delivered these programs. From Leh Ladakh, after that, because I'm also secretary of an NGO called Bal Bharti, which is a 51-year-old organization. And I then introduced this thing immediately into Bal Bharti. And in Bal Bharti, we did this project, did this training from Leh Ladakh to the northeast belts, which were the most difficult places to work. But I'll tell you one thing. The mainstream of India, which we call the heart of India, heartlands, are more resistant to these things as compared to far northeast or top Leh Ladakh or down south. That is what we experienced. So I am glad that we all are together in a collaborative manner, that, certainly people will put in more CSR, people will drive the policies, people will conduct more knowledge sessions, in order to make each one of us understand the importance of this and ultimately derive that impact that we want. Even today, if we talk about numbers, it's only, if I'm not wrong, it's only some 18% of India women who are actually doing the right things for this. Other than that, they are not equipped. Right? So today in India, our GDP, women contribute almost 24%. Right? So if women are contributing 24% to our GDP, and a large section of this women have these kind of problems where they cannot go out to work for 4 or 5 days in a month. They have to hide, they have to slow down, they have to take a break, which is forced. It is not good. It is directly related to our economics. So we need to really get together, get the solutions, and hold each other's hands to make sure that we get more and more projects of MHM on the ground. And before, cutting down on my speech, one thing I want to say. Waiting for you, sir. We call it, this whole industry is called MHM somehow. I don't know who gave this word. Menstrual hygiene management. I don't know where this came from. Does anybody in this house know where this term MHM came from? How was it coined? How was it termed? क्योंकि होता क्या है कि हम हिंदुस्तान में, हमारे यहाँ पे हाइजीन जो वर्ड है ना, वो बहुत ज़्यादा लिया नहीं जाता, अनहाइजीनिक बहुत ज़्यादा लिया जाता है. यू आर वेरी अनहाइजीनिक. आपको साफ सुथरा देख के कोई ये नहीं बोलेगा, ओ हाउ हाइजीनिक यू आर. Am I right? So what happens is that this hygiene word, despite of being a very good word, positive word, still loses its sheen because most of the time it's unhygienic which is used. Okay? So hygiene word क्यों है इस topic में? If I was to describe this, if I was to look at my mother, if I was to look at my sisters, if I was to look at my wife or my daughter, I would say it's a matter of pride. Women are blessed. They have a system where they get purified. Right? Themselves, biologically, they're blessed. So why is it not a menstrual pride, something, which happens every month to them? So if I'm in my office, there are some 20 women working amongst the other teams in the office, and they say that, okay, I'm in my cycle of pride. I'm very happy to know that. Okay, take rest, work from home. Do as it pleases you. But if she says, oh, I am in the cycle of hygiene problem, then we ourselves are doing something wrong in order to describe it on the first place. All right, so next time when we work on this, बहुत सारी चीज़ें ना हमें अंग्रेज दे गए, हम ऐसे ही फॉलो कर रहे हैं, कोई दे गया, कोई दे गया, जबकि हमारी अपनी संस्कृति सब कुछ दे के रखा उसने हमें. ठीक है, तो next time when this event happens, I would request the organizers to please call it MP or something name, which is menstrual pride for a woman and not a hygiene issue. All right, and then there are people from politics, people from different volumes of life, angles of life. Please write it. Please change this whole instance in the country. हमारे देश में यार, हम हिंदुस्तान में हैं, यहाँ पे औरत जो है वो भगवान है. We cannot compromise. I am from Sikh faith. Guru Nanak Dev Ji clearly said in single line, from her kings are born. All right, so that closes it all. There is somebody in the audience. She is my cousin sister, Navneet. She is sitting there. Before we end this panel, आप नवनीत को 2 मिनट जरूर दीजिएगा बोलने के लिए. She will say something from the Guru Granth Sahib. ठीक है? Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Maninder. We still probably on some other platform, we'll probably hear more about his work on adolescence and waste management. That is got untouched. But thank you. It's insightful. We are actually running very short of time, as I've been told by the organizers. How many seconds would you take? Because I really don't like to disappoint people. Okay, on popular demand, and actually I also didn't feel like letting you go like that.
मैं उनसे पहले 10 सेकंड लूंगा.
आप मत लीजिए ना.
सिर्फ 10 सेकंड. सिर्फ 10 सेकंड. हम तो क्या है ना, हम दिल से बोलते हैं. 10 सेकंड कि एक सज्जन है ऐसे दिल्ली में ही, उनको मैंने बोला कि ये जो पैड्स है ना, ये इससे ना एनवायरमेंटल डिग्रेडेशन भी काफ़ी होता है, तो कैन वी मेक समथिंग विच इज़ एन आंसर टू दैट. तो इन लोगों ने वो पैड्स बनाए जो रीयूजेबल है, एक बार किसी को दे दो 2 साल तक चलते हैं, लाइक दैट, एंड वी हैव यूज्ड दैट. तो इसलिए भी मैं चाहता हूँ दैट शी टेल्स अबाउट.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, audience. Thank you so much. I'm Navneet Kaur representing REPAT. As sir said very rightly, our Guru Nanak Dev Ji, 500 years ago he said, "So kyo manda akhiye, jit jamme rajan." How can a woman be virtually unclean who has given a birth to the kings? So with that, which was said 500 years back, and now we are here, we're talking about the same thing. So here, also I would like to say, yesterday also we talked about, today also we are talking that menstruation, hygiene and awareness should be for both male and female. And I'm proudly saying that the founder of this REPAT is a male, Mr. Iqbal Singh Sethi, who have been into this industry from last 40 years, providing relief items to the humanitarian sector. And in 2015, he founded this product, because he wanted to do something for the society, something for the women hygiene. That is reusable sanitary pad, which name itself says REPAT. This is skin friendly, environment friendly, and see, there's nothing new. कपड़ा हम बहुत पहले से use करते आ रहे हैं. I tell you a story here. We distributed very short. I'll take maximum 20 seconds. We distributed some pads in the near village to Haryana, wherein I got to know the story of a family who said, आपका ये जो 4 का पैड है 3+1, what we do, कभी मेरी बेटी इस्तेमाल कर लेती है, कभी मैं इस्तेमाल कर लेती हूँ. Can you see that? So there, it's not only REPAT, not UNIPAT, not AfriPAT, not any other. We all have to come together to end this period poverty. People have been using, so this is not only the cloth pad. Yes, there are other, examples also for the cups also. There are many products, but yes, cloth pad is something which they know how to use. They've been using since years, And also, we're also honorable and harmonized with our honorable Prime Minister's mission, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. I will not take much time. It's just that in a day, disposable pads, how much you use for the month and probably for during your menstrual cycle, if we compare that and where these pads are going, just a waste. And it's dumped in the landfill and will remain there for 800 years. So we all have been contributing to this mission in some or the other ways. And I would like to thank you, each of you sitting here, for this beautiful contribution. And thank you, Gramalaya, for this opportunity to us. And with the REPAT and the team from REPAT, we say, we all please come together to end this period poverty. Thank you very much. And my message to the women across the world. Make yourself a priority. At the end of the day, you are the longest commitment. Thank you, girls. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. This was impromptu. I know I'm in a bad position here, so I have to, cut you all. Dil se bola aapne Maninder ji, thanks. Thanks Suhana, thanks Damodaran ji. I have a couple of points, but I'm also going to, I think I have given my time to the lady. So we'll halt here. Knowledge, attitude, practice. I think these are the three key words. If we all as NGOs abide to this chronology, I'm sure there's no dearth of funding for us to receive. With that note, all the best to everyone and wish you more scalable times ahead.
Well, thank you so much. With this, we come to the end of the session. I would request Team Gramalaya to please felicitate our panel head for this session, Ms. Pooja Murada. I'd request Damodaran sir to do the honors. The panel has incredibly touched upon some very, very valid points. There's an India within India, and we're here to talk about that. Thank you so much, and I would now request Mr. Maninder Singh to please step forward for a felicitation. Thank you so much, Maninder, for sparing out time and joining us here. I now request Ms. Suhana Parveen to please step forward. Thank you so much, Suhana, for letting us know the good work BALCO is doing.